There was a lot of skepticism when I first started out about how big was this opportunity. Well, here's a recent study by Deutsche Bank and others that shows the size of these markets and the size of these opportunities is enormous. 500 billion in one case, 100 billion in another case. You notice every single one of these clean tech opportunities begins with a B. When I started investing on my own, venture capitalists thought a good investment might have a total available market of 200 million, 300 million, 400 million. Now all the clean tech great opportunities all begin with a B, or billion. So naturally that gets us excited because as venture capitalists we think, gee, if this is our first investment, the total available market, 30 billion, so if you get 1% of that, what a great win. So one of the things to kind of get used to in this world of green investing is that the markets are so large that you don't need to capture a large percent of these markets. So in energy, let's look at the fundamental, macro factors. There was a 63% average rise in energy demand in 2005. That continues today. Even in the midst of this global financial crisis, recession, whatever you want to call it, recession, depression, crisis, our use of barrels of oil continues to escalate. Most authorities and the Energy Information Agency feel that we've reached peak supply of global oil, and it creates a challenge for future energy production as we know. What most people don't also realize is the problem we face with water scarcity in the world. There's a serious problem in that anywhere from, depending on estimates, anywhere from 1.2 to 2 billion people in the world lack access to safe water or basically non-diseased water. 2/3 of the hospital beds in the world outside the United States are filled with people who are sick because of waterborne disease. Based on current trends, the world's water scarcity problems will increase, not diminish. There already are, it's not reported often in the news, there already are water riots in some parts of the world. Oftentimes, people are too sick to riot because of the serious problem with water. We'll talk about how that can be profitably addressed. Then there's a bunch of other areas. I mentioned, water and food. What could be more basic? Agriculture has to rely on new technologies in order to create enough food for the world's increasing population. The world's population continues to increase and has from the beginning of recorded history. And there's no signs that the population of the world is going to decrease. But in addition to increasing population, there's the issue of increasing urbanization and the fact that we're starting to reach the outer limits of how much arable land there is on a global basis. So all of these things, if we pursue energy, water, and agriculture in traditional manner, what we'll find is that we simply can't use existing technologies because it will create unacceptable levels of global pollution and unacceptable levels of global warming. I think most of you know that the consensus among the National Academies of Science of over 100 countries is that we're 2 degrees centigrade away from reaching a point where global warming produces effects which cascade beyond human control, so that hurricanes like Katrina will be more common, and droughts and fires will be that are out of control will be common occurrences. The Earth, on average, is about 2 degrees away from reaching that condition. So any innovation in the green area helps. So the private sector has now, compared to what things were like 7 years ago, the private sector has now started to focus on the profit opportunities. That's actually a very, very encouraging sign. What's important to understand, the first principle to understand when you look at investing in green is that it's a house with many mansions. There's a lot of different sectors, even within clean energy. If you read the newspapers, all you're reading about is solar and wind, and we're going to generate renewables resources. It's actually much more complicated than that. Most of the capital goes into project finance, which is in the area of building these wind farms and solar farms, but that's probably the area of smallest profit. The area of largest profit, which is the area that we invest in, is companies with disruptive technologies that have extraordinary potential and are in the process of growing rapidly. And oddly enough, at this moment in time, despite the fact that clean tech is the fastest growing sector in the investment landscape in the world, there's actually the smallest amount of capital allocated to the largest opportunities still, which is something I hesitated to tell you because I'd rather that people not focus on that, because we'd like to buy out more we'd like to buy out more land before the prices go up. But this shows the tremendous increase in clean energy investment. It's continuing today despite the global financial crisis. And why is that? Well, this results from a study by McKinsey in which it was concluded that in order for us to solve the challenges that we face, the rate of change in innovation has to be approximately 3 times faster than the increase in labor productivity resulting during the Industrial Revolution. So we not only have to innovate, we have to innovate 3 times faster than we've ever had to innovate before in the history of the world in order to meet the productivity challenges that we face. The reducing emissions successfully involves essentially an increase in what's called carbon productivity. That means how much work do we get out of each molecule of carbon that we burn. We now have to increase that level of efficiency 10 times in order to meet the goals of reducing global warming and reducing global pollution. So extraordinary productivity has to be extracted from the system.